Well, hey guys, we just are finishing up day 6 and can't wait to tell you about it. We got to see a bunch of different things. The first thing we did was we went to a place called Gibeon. And so, just to kind of orient on the map, it's just a little bit northwest of Jerusalem. This is the place where Joshua had the sun stand still, that passage in Joshua. So they've crossed the Jordan River, they've conquered Jericho, and they are deceived into making an alliance with Gibeon. And then all of the kings in this lower area band together because they don't like the idea of the Israelites making their way into their land. And so Joshua comes to help Gibeon, and this is the site where that battle took place. And so, kind of interesting to see it firsthand. This would have been the view looking out over the battlefield, would have taken place out in here. And then after that, we went to Shiloh. And so Shiloh is right up here. I was a little rusty on my Old Testament history. Shiloh was the place where the tabernacle was housed for some 400 years. And so this is the city of Shiloh. They found the site, and some students have done an outline of the tabernacle, like a condensed version. This is the tabernacle, this is the outer court, this is the Holy of Holies. But this actual space right here, which is smaller than a football field, but bigger than a couple of tennis courts, maybe 3 or 4 tennis courts, is where the tabernacle of the Lord would have been for 400 years. So this is where Hannah would have come with Samuel for him to do service in the tabernacle when God called him. And so here's just kind of a visual of what the tabernacle might have looked like in this very space. So that was pretty neat. One of the things that you'll find in the northern country is olives are a big deal. Grapes are a big deal in the southern country. And so this is an olive press, and I got a little practice with the olive press. The first thing they do is they put the olives in, and then that breaks the skin of the olives and makes it possible for them to be able to put them in the next process, which is this wooden beam here, where they put a bunch of weight on it, and the olive oil comes out. And so this is the architectural site in Shiloh. This is where that wooden beam would have gone. It would have crushed all of it here and then gone into vats that I'm sitting in to collect the olive oil. So the next thing we did was go to Jericho. So Jericho is right here on the east side. So from Shiloh down to Jericho. And we got to see the ruins of the city of Jericho with the walls that came down. So this would have been an outer wall, this an inner wall. Just a few architectural things that are interesting that they found on this site. One of them is that they found a food grain container that had been burned. And so that was very unusual to find that, because usually if an army was to invade an area, they would use the food supplies, but God told them to destroy everything in Jericho. So that was interesting. They found evidence that looks like the walls came out rather than in. So usually if you're trying to push through a wall, the rocks are going to come in. They found evidence of rock sediment out in this area that would suggest that the top of these walls fell out. And then the third thing that's interesting is that there is no archaeological evidence of anybody living in Jericho from the time of Joshua all the way to the time of Ahab. And of course, one of the things that God told Joshua was that they were not to rebuild Jericho. And it wasn't until King Ahab of Ahab and Jezebel that he violated that order and offended God in doing so. All right, so from Jericho, we went up north into the wilderness area. And so this is the area where Jesus was tempted in the wilderness. And so this is the Jordan River here. Jesus would have been baptized right around this area, just to the west of Jericho, and then would have gone out into this wilderness area. This wilderness area was like unlike anything I had ever seen. It was absolutely beautiful. This was a picture of a kid and his donkey that were on the trail. But check this photo out. It just is absolutely breathtaking looking out over this. And it extends 60 miles north to south. And there's more green in these 2 or 3 weeks of spring than there usually are in the entire year. And so we hiked up this little trail here. Here's another picture of us going up this trail, which was, I mean, right on the edge of the cliff at parts. It was pretty cool. And then Jack did some teaching during this time, which was just incredible. He's standing right on the edge of the cliff as a little podium, and he's teaching on lessons learned in trusting God. And so he's likening the whole aspect of Jesus going into the wilderness versus the Israelites going into a different wilderness and how they responded differently. I mean, basically, the ultimate test that both the Israelites and Jesus had were, will I trust God in this? Will I trust God when I'm hungry? Will I trust God even when it doesn't make sense? And then we had a time of prayer and reflection, just looking out over this vast wilderness. That was one of the cooler things we've done on this entire trip. So tomorrow we've got a big day. We're headed out to the Dead Sea. We are going to be in that area of Qumran and different places. So I'm really looking forward to that. Everybody says it's another really special day. So I'll see you next time. Bye.